Today we're talking about this, the Nikon Z6III.
Nikon has really been stepping it up with video, which is clear from their acquisition of Red last year. We even did our first ever review of a Nikon camera last year with the Z8, which I was very impressed with. But now they've sent us the Z6III to test out, and I wanted to do it a little differently. So I decided to shoot that little opening piece we just showed you with no additional lights, no tripod, no gimbal, or any other gear at all, just the Z6III and Josh to see how this thing would hold up with no favors given. And right up front, I will tell you, Nikon is a partner on this episode, and they did send us the camera to review, but we have to send it back, unfortunately. And as I remind you every time, if we don't love it, we don't partner. Very good. Moving on. Now, admittedly, what we shot is pushing the camera in a lot of places. Handheld while walking with no rigging, all autofocus, only available light, at night, often in spots where there was very little light, but I'm always chasing the idea of minimal filmmaking. I love the thought of telling a story with the bare minimum. The lack of things getting in your way is very appealing to me. But again, this is giving the camera a lot of hurdles, and it doesn't necessarily give the image a fair shake at times, but it's still held up. And I really like the image I'm getting across the board. It did very well in the lower light areas. I did have a little bit of noise in shots, but we'll get to that later. With proper light, the image is really clean and pleasing though, and like last time, I'm loving the colors here. It's one of the easiest to grade in my opinion, and with this one being full frame, you're getting all the benefits there too. One of the best things about this camera is that you can shoot 6K RAW internally. Obviously, that's helpful for the image quality, but it's also really helpful for a run and gun piece like this, since I can go the David Fincher method where you frame for a lower resolution than you're shooting. For Gone Girl, they shot 6K, but they framed for 5K, giving them an extra 1K area for reframing in post. I did the same here, but with the final at 4K, I had even more to play with where needed, either to reframe or give a little extra to zoom in. And again, this is 6K RAW in full frame without a crop, all internally. And because it's RAW 6K, these files are pretty massive, but you have a few flavors of codec to choose from if RAW is overkill. Of course, we have the 12-bit and RAW at up to 6K and 60p. Then we have 12-bit ProRes RAW at 6K up to 30p. With both RAW formats, it's giving you MP4 proxies right in cam, which is great to have. Then you have 10-bit ProRes 422HQ at 5.4K and 60p, 10-bit H.265 at up to 5.4K and 60p, and 8-bit H.264 at up to 4K and 30p. You also have some slow motion options here with 120p in 4K and RAW, or 240p in H.265, but you're dropping down to 1080 for that, so I don't really see me using that all that much. But that 120 and 4K RAW is nice and made me want to redo a shot that we did last time with the Z8 to look at the slow motion, but also test the autofocus.
No, we got it. Don't ask if we bout it. Proper science I did. Now I get paid for rhyming. Now they look so excited. Why, of course I sign this. Always something blinding. That's the future shining. Hey, we up next. We up.
The slow motion looks great, just like last time, but the autofocus is what made my little heart the happiest here. For a camera that is more than half the cost of the Z8, it's absolutely holding its own in the autofocus department. I have it set to activate autofocus only when the subject is in frame, so if it's tracking the subject like it is here and something blocks it, the system won't pull focus away. It'll wait until the subject is back in frame. And this makes using autofocus possible for me. Nothing drives me more crazy than that autofocus randomly searching. Something else I used a lot here was the AFC, or continuous autofocus. With this, it only triggers the autofocus when I press the shutter halfway. Then it pulls to my subject and will continue to until I release the shutter again. This was great for getting my focus quickly if I wanted to pull manually after that, or to have the system snap to another focus point only when I wanted it to, like this shot here. And the tracking did really well in these lower light settings. For a lot of it, we had solid street lights everywhere, but for spots like this, it was pretty dark with the only lights far from us, and still it tracked Josh's eye impressively well. Throughout this shoot, I was on 800 pretty much the entire time, which surprised me. I thought I'd have to go to 6400 more than I did, but with the fast lenses and the camera's sensitivity, it all worked really well. There is something interesting going on in the ISOs here though. Nikon doesn't promote this as a dual native ISO camera, but as you scale up an ISO from 800, the noise grows massively until you hit 6400, then it spikes down dramatically. So much so that it's less noisy to shoot at 12,800 than 5,000. I am getting noise here even at 800 with some darker shots, but at both 800 and 6400, a small amount of noise reduction cleared that up completely. So while the low light isn't insane, it's very good, especially for the price of the camera. The stabilization is killer here too. You have two modes of vibration reduction, normal and sport. Both do well, as you can see here, but sport mode is a bit better for handheld shots like we did throughout the opening, so I lived mostly on that. But normal seems to be better for more calm shots with less movement involved. But with these shots specifically, I was giving no effort to smooth out my walk just to see how it would turn out. I was pretty happy overall with the stabilization that I'm getting in camera here. I was holding it in whatever way I needed to get the shot, and it worked out nicely overall. I'm still getting an erratic handheld feel, which is what I wanted, but without the insane jitter and overly sloppy feel that can come from hand-holding a small camera like this. It almost feels like it was shot with a rigged out camera with a little more weight. Speaking of handheld, the rolling shutter is a lot better than I expected from a camera like this too. It's still there, but like I said, far less pronounced than what I was expecting. And that's thanks to the partially stacked CMOS sensor. Since it's reading the image data much faster, it can minimize distortion during fast motion. For the battery, we were out shooting for a few hours in 6K and RAW, and I had plenty of time left on the only battery that we had, probably thanks to the automatic shutoff, but I was still very happy with what I was getting there too. For audio, you have 24-bit, and it supports 4-channel audio when paired with accessories like the Tascam XLR adapter. You also have a 3.5mm mic and headphone jack here, which does lead me into the body of this camera.
I look good 24/7, 24/7. All y'all 10s, I'm in 11. I'm in 11.
Next to the mic and headphone jacks, we also have a full HDMI, USB-C, and over here, dual card slots, one for SD and the other for CF Express Type B. You also have a bunch of customizable buttons and the same type menu system we showed in our Z8 review. One thing I do appreciate in these cameras is that if I ever want to delete any of my media, once I hit delete, I have to press this trash can over here, not the same OK button I've been clicking. I haven't accidentally deleted many clips in my life, but it still makes me feel a bit better. Then we have the LCD touchscreen here, and unlike the Z8, we have a full swivel, great for run and gun and handheld work without a monitor, and of course we have the EVF up here, which apparently is the world's brightest. But it is the image I care about most here, and what we're getting is very solid. A really great selection of codecs, excellent in-camera 12-bit RAW, giving me a lot of room in post, even when it looks a touch noisy like I showed before, just throwing on my correction and a style LUT, which for this I'm using our Candyman LUT from our Horror V3 pack. I just tossed that on with the correction, and you can already see the noise die down a lot. Then we can add a light denoise, and I have an image that's way too clean. So now I want to add some texture back in, but I have full control over the type and the amount. So all in, I'd say if this isn't the best camera in its price range, it's very close. The full frame sensor, the internal 6K RAW, good low light, great autofocus, and stabilization all put it at the top of the list for me. Of course, if you would like to know more about it or anything else we talked about on today's episode, check the links in the notes below. And as always, if you dug this episode, do us a favor and like, subscribe, hit the bell. All of those things help. But until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.